Hello, everybody, and welcome to Problem Solve Her, a fun, creative, innovative, fabulous podcast empowering women and men because 25% of our viewers are men. That's why we have a man on today, but we'll get to him in a second. I'm your co-host, Chloe, along with my girl,
Dagmar.
Dagmar's in the house. Jeff, I'm training to be a professional singer.
Sounded beautiful.
Nelson's in the house. All right, we're gonna skip that.
We would like to take this moment to thank our sponsors. Bronzea is a mobile spray tanner which can be done in the comfort of your own home. Founded by Gina, an experienced beauty professional with a cosmetology license of over 9 years. Bronzea was birthed by name and cross-pollinated from Bronze and Dea, meaning goddess in Italian. Gina really missed giving women that inner confidence and glow one spray at a time. So, are you ready to unlock your inner Bronzea and allow Gina to make you feel fabulous before meeting a family affair, maybe a night out with your significant others, or maybe it's ladies' night? So, please go to Bronzea Spray Tans at Instagram and use promo code ProblemSolvHer, no E on solve, for the month of September.
Guys, we have an awesome, fabulous guest on today. Jeff is someone I grew up with. He's a little older than me. Dagmar knows I don't tell my real age I'm 39.
I heard you're
how old Jeff is.
38, actually.
But Jeff's just, he's a little older than me. But we did grow up together in the same town on Long Island. And Jeff is the proprietor. Woo, I got all fancy. He's the proprietor of Palm Beach Dog Academy. And obviously that's in Palm Beach, Florida. He, as I said, grew up on Long Island with me. He went to a really fancy school in New York. I don't want to give out the date, Jeff, because we don't want to age ourselves. Let's just say it was in the late 90s. And it was called the Tom Rose School, which is the Harvard of dog training academies for people who...
In Missouri, by the way. But
What?
in Missouri. Just wanted
Oh,
to...
it was in Missouri? Sorry, did I... Okay, so that was in Missouri. My bad on that one. And Jeff, I can say this personally, is not only an incredible dog trainer and has been doing this for 3 decades, he trained my family's dog that lived till 19, Oscar. He was the love of our household. Jeff came in at a time when, I don't want to say past the time of training dogs, but he was 2.5, probably, maybe even 3. You obviously want to train them younger, and Jeff will tell you about that in a moment. And what he did in 5 days, just blew my mind, my parents' mind, my brother. So I can personally say that I know Jeff's work is incredible. And I want Jeff to kind of tell us a little bit what he does in his background. So Jeff, the way we're going to start this off is, first of all, welcome to Problem Solve.
Thank you. Happy to be here with Problem Solve.
Jeff's in the house. Problem solve her. No E on solve to play in words. Jeff, people are obsessed with dogs and cats, birds, fish, whatever it is. But people, and I feel this way. My son Oliver, whom you met.
Yes, I did.
He's my son. I didn't give birth to him. I pretend I do. I can't give birth to a dog, but in my mind I did. And I don't have any children like you. This is my child. And people today really take care of their dogs. They spend a lot of money on them, and they treat them as part of their family, as if they share DNA. So I want you to kind of start right now off the jump, just explaining to people your background and how long you've been training dogs in general.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I've loved dogs since I've been a little boy. My mother told me I didn't talk to human beings till I was about 11 because I was so into our family dogs. I spent most of my time with them. And then when I was about 16 years old, I did an apprenticeship with a man that she hired to train her Rottweiler. And when I saw what he was able to do with my mother's dog, how he was able to communicate and solve problems and give a dog who had some issues real confidence, it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. And I knew right then that that's what I wanted to do. So it all started with a 2-year apprenticeship with him, Dogs by Andy, Huntington, New York, and an apprenticeship for a dog trainer generally means you're going to work for free, clean up a lot of poop, shadow him around and watch what he does and learn as much as you can. So that's how I got started. I realized it's certainly the type of job I wanted to have, working with
So
dogs,
you
being
like cleaning up
outside.
poop. You like cleaning up poop? Because I love cleaning up poop. It's my favorite thing.
That's the one part that I no longer want to do and actually get other people to do for me. That's the
There
part
you
I'm
go.
done with. But God, watching them work with dogs was like mesmerizing. And after that apprenticeship, I went to the place you were talking about. It's called the Tom Rose School, High Ridge, Missouri. And there it was like police dog training, search and rescue. Went through narcotics and explosives detection. I was there for about a year and a half.
Wow.
And that stuff I've never really looked back on because my passion has been to help families and pets live in harmony with each other. So that's what I've spent all my time focusing on since then is how do we solve, aggression, fear, anxiety, or just even over exuberance, puppies with impulse control issues, running out the door, jumping, stealing, where they can and cannot pee and what they can and cannot have in their mouths. It was all very fascinating to me. And I spent my whole life studying as much as possible.
We would like to take a moment in this episode to thank our sponsors. Palm Beach Dog Academy is located right here in the heart of sunny South Florida. Founded by Jeff Nelson, who did his training at the Harvard of Dog Training Academies at the Tom Rose School in Missouri. I can say firsthand that Jeff not only has the credentials and the experience, he knows how to train dogs properly. He trained my beloved Oscar, our furry favorite guy who lived till 19 years of age. For more information about Jeff's packages and his academy, please visit palmbeachdogacademy.com.
And what you realize by working with people and dogs is there's a lack of communication sometimes. We speak one thing, they kind of understand a different way of looking at it. So, what I try to do is have everyone meet in the middle. You learn a little bit about your dog's language, and we teach the dogs to understand some of our language. And that's what I spend all my time doing teaching people how to communicate, how to solve problems, and how to, I always say a well trained dog is always the safest, happiest, and most confident dog you'll ever meet. So that's
It's
my
amazing.
mission, my life's goal.
I love that for you. And I'm sorry that in the beginning I got that one thing backwards because you did the apprenticeship at Huntington. I was right, but then you went to Missouri.
Correct.
Apologies for that.
Just didn't want them to get upset about the.
Oh, absolutely. No, you listen, you have to give props to everybody that helped you along the way.
That's right.
Tell our viewers and our listeners how you transition because I know when I moved to Florida, and you know this, growing up in New York, we have 4 seasons, right? And it's beautiful, and the summers are great on Long Island Sound, and then you have winters and the snow, great autumns, and the spring is like summer's coming. So to transition, how did you decide to move to Florida and then start the Palm Beach Dog Academy?
The thing about moving from New York to Florida was my father was getting sick and he lived down here and I knew I had a limited amount of time left with him. So I wanted I wanted to be down here with him,
I
which
love that.
wound up being the best decision I ever made because I got the last 4 years of his life. And then I had a child that he was able to meet and develop a great relationship with.
I'm gonna
And I've
cry.
never seen him so happy in my life. So coming down here, it was Mutz and Jeff in New York
Yep, I remember
and
very well.
changed it to Palm Beach Dog Academy, moved here during COVID, actually. And, scary time to start a business. But I mean, right off the bat, I saw that people were ready to go, and always had clients looking for help. I always had a good word of mouth business. And it's been great. I love Palm Beach.
That's
I do.
amazing that you were able to come down here during, I call it Rona, the Rona days, and at a time when a lot of people either couldn't find work or lost their jobs or were like desperately trying to get a remote job from home. It would make sense that because so many people were at home during that time, everyone was getting a dog. They wanted to like fill
That's a
their
great
life with
point.
joy. Yeah. what a great time for you to come down and be able to have that time with your dad, which is like, you can't even put a price on that.
Priceless. Exactly right.
And to be able to meet and have a grandchild and spend that time, it's like those memories are like right there in the forefront. So I love that for you. I didn't know that. I'm just learning that now. That's beautiful. I think that, and this is for me, and I see Dagmar has a question, but I want to ask this before I forget, because I just, before you came on, was downstairs with Oliver, and there's this Doberman in my building. And I don't know if you know this, Jeff, but a lot of the condo and apartment rental buildings in South Florida.
They have lists.
Right. They're on the no breed list. That's Dobermans, Rottweilers, and Pit Bulls. I don't know how they got in the building. And every time Oliver sees this dog, he has an energy because obviously they're aggressive. What are certain things that, I'm asking this as a dog mom, that we can do? Obviously, you walk in a different direction, you try to diffuse it. If I'm anxious, he'll feel anxious. But what do you do in those situations where you open the elevator opens and like a Rottweiler or a Doberman's sitting next to your 16-pound poodle, you know?
That's a great question. And to me, it goes back to everything. If you want your dog safe, then you need to know that if you ask for a little something, that they'd be willing to do it. So if I see any scenario I'm not comfortable with, the fact that I can tell my dog to come and have him turn on a dime and come to me, and then without having to use the leash and without having to stress out, say sit, say down, have it happen, I think that's what would keep him safe from the aggressive dogs that we run into. By the way, happens all the time, right? Where I live, there's farms and there's dogs that just dig out of their fences and they'll come at you. No leash, no owner anywhere nearby, and it's only my dog's ability to calmly take commands. I know they're going to work, and then even when that dog runs up on us, he sees nothing but two totally calm and confident creatures, rather than someone who's in a panic, which is prey behavior and will get you into a lot of trouble. Right? So I'll just take a worst case scenario. I see a very scary dog charging at me and my dog, me and my child, terrifying scenario for anybody. I am trained to stay very calm, wait for the moment where the dog were to, let's say, go after me or my child or my dog, and at that moment do what's called a correction. So it would be like very calmly waiting. I see the dog running, and then right as he lunges at my dog, hey, grab him by his neck. And that is the last thing they were expecting, right? They're expecting pull away, they're expecting running. They're not expecting someone to calmly meet them halfway and show them I'm not a threat, but I'm not afraid. And to be honest, I'm not going to say it works every time, but it works almost every time.
I love that. But I like I want to go back to what you said, and then Dagmar, because I know Daggy's patiently waiting when her beautiful pink shirt and her glasses to match.
Yeah.
I love what you said before that, which was, it's all about trust. If your dog, AKA your child, I hate the word dog, if my son trusts me, which I know he does, and he's pretty good on the road like that.
Yeah.
But like you said, things come up, dogs appear, like things are, I'm in the dog park. All of a sudden, an aggressive dog could come in. If they trust you and they listen to the sound of your voice, that's something huge that I love that you said for people to really be listening to this. Because if your dog slash son, daughter doesn't trust you, then you have no control over the situation in general.
That is so true. And I see so many people how, like you said, we're obsessed with our dogs. We all love them. But sometimes I see dogs where I know they love their families more than anything, but there's a lack of respect, with behaviors like pulling on the leash and jumping on the people and reacting to other dogs or joggers or bicycles. Obviously, there's tons of what we call triggers. And if your dog truly trusts you, and how do you build trust is good communication. And that's where we have a hard time as human beings. By nature, we use too much language. We repeat ourselves and we tend to change our tone, our face, and our body language depending on how we're feeling in the moment. And dogs respond to exactly none of that, right? So
So when
imagine
I have these long conversations with Oliver, I swear he understands. He doesn't. He doesn't
he
understand.
does. He understands the energy of it, your tone, your face. He understands so much about it. He knows more about you than you know about yourself. Dogs are masterful at taking in their environment through energy, through smell, through hearing, and through especially watching body language on humans and other dogs, but they don't come pre-programmed with a verbal language, right? So if you want a dog to have a language that they understand, it's a very specific set of language. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll tell my dog how handsome he is all the time, how much I love him. And we have little conversations and he understands the energy of it. But if I ever want him to know exactly what I'm asking, our commands, and we have a lot of them, are super specific, right? So I can't change the words. I can't add anything. I can't take anything away. And a quick example is just watch people heel. Come on, girl, let's go. Well, good luck to you, right? So that's too many words. No dog could pick them up. So there's a very specific language of verbal communication, and you get to choose when you use it. But when you do use it, you'd want your dog to A, understand what you're asking, B, know you always make it worth their while to do it, and C, are not a person who takes no for an answer. So I'll give you a quick idea of the type of philosophy I use, which is when I'm teaching my dog a command, like let's say stay, very important command. Every time he were to break it, he'd get corrected. We can talk about that. I'd put him right back where I originally asked him to stay. And if he did it wrong 5 times, I'd do it 6. If he did it wrong 10 times, I'd do it 11. Meaning we are going to get in a battle of wills. I am going to win them. And you can't do the fun thing you want to do until you get it right. No anger, no frustration. It's a science of we do this thing that I've spent all this time teaching you to do, and we do it till you get it right. And I don't care how long it takes. I've got all day. And my dog looks at me and he's like, apparently I've wound up with the most stubborn human being who ever lived. But if you do what he asks, everything's gravy, right? So that's what we do is look, you look at your name, you get paid right off the bat. If I say your name and you don't look, I'll correct you. I'll make you look anyway. Then you owe me another one. So if you're my dog and I say your name, which one are you going to do? Knowing that there's 2 possible outcomes. One is fun, one is not. But you're going to look either way. So if I tell my dog to come wherever I'm standing, he's going to come to that spot. That's a fact. You want the fun way or you want the other way? But a normal human being, just by nature, we repeat ourselves, right? Sit, 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 come, come, come. And if you do, by nature, repeat yourself, no dog is going to think that they have to listen to you when the chips are down and it's very important. But I don't let my dog make those distinctions. Commands are commands. It's how you get everything good in the world. And like I said, I choose when I use them. I don't give my dog commands all day long. But if I say something, he's going to know what it means. He's going to know it's going to be fun to get it right. And he knows I'm not going to take no for an answer.
I love that.
Plugging in the charger.
Yeah,
Didn't want to run out.
push it down a little bit. I was like, wait, where'd your head and
She
neck
was plugging
go?
in the charger.
But
So
Dagmar's so excited because she is such an animal lover in general. Look at her face. I haven't seen her lit up like, if I say the word Brad Pitt, she won't light up like that. I will if she says Brad, but
and I did do my research on you guys, and I'm waiting for Dagmar's hard hitting question. Let's go.
No, she doesn't start right away, Jeff. They're coming when you don't think.
Gotcha.
I first have to
But yeah,
analyze you. They come little by little. So I was wondering, what's your approach on that? I believe in adapt and don't shop, right?
yeah,
And I don't know if you're familiar with this YouTube series of Sitting with Dogs, where this gentleman goes into the kennels and helps the very scared, insecure, aggressive dogs to be adaptable. So, and that's beautiful what it does. Like, I love it. So when they are adapted, I do not believe personally that no, I shouldn't say any, that most humans are not prepared of really communicating and working with the dog to create a balanced dog-human life. And what I see a lot, that many people bring the dogs back to the shelter because they're misbehaved. They don't want the dog because the dog is too big. They didn't realize the puppy takes too much time. What is your thought on how could this problem of the shelter dogs who come with a baggage be dealt with to make them perhaps in the shelter more adaptable?
that is such a great question.
That's where my heart really is, because like I love what you do and I can see your passion for the animals. And like in my world, finding a solution for the shelter dogs and cats that they can find loving homes and staying in loving homes, that would be beautiful.
That is so great that you asked that question. And I actually spent time thinking about it earlier today. I go to this beautiful spot and I meditate a little, and I thought about what I might talk about here. And the dogs in the shelters is the most heartbreaking thing. They're all full. They're not finding homes. And it's just the saddest thing. So when I was thinking what I would love to do sometime is be able to train an army of young dog trainers, just the most basics, right? So walk beautifully on a leash. Don't jump all over the people that you're greeting. Do a simple sit the first time you're asked, and don't get up until you're released to get up. It would make these dogs instantly 90% more adoptable. And I've done a lot of work in
Really?
shelters.
He
Really?
I
can
mean,
go to the shelters and teach them. Dagmar,
90%.
you don't
well,
understand.
I
He's like
threw
a
that number.
magician.
I
He's like
threw
a
that number
magician
out
with
there,
dogs.
but I do believe that if you go to a shelter and a dog's either too rambunctious or too fearful, right? So afraid, back in the corner, looking like they might have fight or flight and bite you or run away, or I'm so excited I don't know what to do with myself. Neither one of those are energies we really want to be bringing home to our family. And it's just energy that can really affect the whole, your whole family. Your kids can see it and it's not good for them. So people will pass over a dog just because it's barking, jumping, running out the enclosure as soon as the door opens. You're trying to keep them in. These are just simple impulse control problems. And so I don't want to sound like a real conceited jerk, but if you saw me go to the shelter and take one of those wild dogs and work with it for 10 minutes, you would go, I cannot believe the difference. But the hard part of what trainers do, people who spent many, many years learning how to do this, is we have to teach it to the owners, the people who have the dogs and are experiencing the issues, or let's say the volunteers at the shelter, the people who are interacting with them. And it takes me time to teach people how to do it. So although I can blow your mind with what I'm able to do, my thought that I was answering before is, if I had the time to not worry about anything other than training this army of young trainers, and then I sent them out to each of the shelters and they just did the simple, there's a leash technique, the right words and timing and tone. But I would say it would take me somewhere about 1 month to train them to do some very basic stuff like that. And 90% was a number I just threw out. But I just paint the picture in your head of two dogs. One is it's barking uncontrollably. You have your kids with you. They try to open the enclosure. The dog runs out, knocks one of them down. Are you really going to be interested in adopting that dog? But then picture the other dog. Calm. You open the gate, wait. You say free or whatever your release word, and they come out calmly and they greet the child calmly. That's the difference I see in my head. If it's, whatever percentage it is, it makes them a lot more adoptable right off the bat. Simple impulse control. And I think people go to the shelters quite a bit, but it's such a big responsibility that they're looking for perfection. But why are the dogs in the shelters? A lot of times because they had behaviors that weren't exactly perfect. They need someone who puts in time and effort with a little bit of know-how to solve some very basic stuff. And then they're wonderful to take home. And a lot of times I don't get called in until they've had them for a few months. And maybe they bit someone, or maybe they did something like run away and not come back and you almost lost them. I mean, these are very serious issues. And I get called in there. But if you got them before they even left the shelter, and then you just showed the people very quickly, this is how you walk the dog. This is how you get them to greet people properly without being overly rambunctious. I just think it could be an amazing thing. As a dog trainer, I got to say, when you watch people, I call it the other end of the leash. I'm not looking from the person's perspective. I'm seeing the messages the dog on the other end of the leash is receiving. A lot of them are wrong. So I'll just give you an example. If your dog's ever reacted to a child or been, barking, jumping, any of that, the next time you see a child approach, you're probably going to tense up on the leash a little. You're probably going to tense up with your voice, your face. And then the dog is going to literally think you have a problem with children. So how many times someone has said to me, I can't understand why my dog really doesn't like kids. And in my head, I'm thinking, if they're not a client, I'll say it out loud if they are. But in my head, it's like your dog thinks you are scared of children because you saw that kid approaching and you tensed up in every way conceivable. And the dog took that as a message, as this is a threat. But if you could just calmly keep a loose leash, knowing full well your dog is trained not to pull, not to lunge, not to bark. If you say their name and they look up in your eyes, you say sit and they go, "You got it, boss. Happy to do that for you." Well, now you don't have any insurmountable issues. Every problem becomes solvable instantly. But again, watch people when they're in public, their dog's looking at a squirrel. They could say sit 100 times. They're going to get nothing out of that dog because at home with a treat, it's not a problem. But when you're out there in the world, the dog's like, I don't want a treat. I want a squirrel. I've never had a dog treat where my dog's like, that's more interesting than a squirrel. So it has to become obedience at one point. And I'll just define it. I know everyone has an idea of what obedience means, but when it comes to dogs, here's what it means. You know exactly what you're supposed to do. Now you just don't want to do it. I don't let you make that distinction. Sit means sit, whether we're in the most crowded place or home alone with a treat. Down means down, no matter where, no matter when. So I practice things like putting my dog in those very distracting scenarios, purposely getting into a battle of wills when he was younger, knowing full well, why would he come? He's distracted, and working on it again until he got it right, no matter how long it took me. And now my dog's like, well, if I want to play with that ball over there and Jeff says come, the only way to play with that ball is to do the come, right? So every problem becomes solvable up to and including aggression, which I've solved with many, many dogs and many clients over the years. But it's based on a foundation of obedience. Will you walk nicely, regardless of distraction? Will you look at your name, whether you're in the mood to or not? Will you sit the first time I ask you and not get up till I tell you to? You know, a come command, what we call a recall, at least on a leash, which we call basic obedience, because you're always walking your dog on a leash in public, right? My dog has to do it on or off leash, but that's a different story. If everyone had it on a leash, it would be a much better world that we're living in where people could just calmly communicate the most basic of commands in the calmest of tones. Because part of the philosophy is we don't raise our voice, right? You're never going to see me come or down because that's energy every animal would want to get as far away from as possible. So the sternness of it is in the philosophy of, oh, yeah, I'm going to win the battle of wills, right? And I do have a way to correct a dog, but that's the only negative they will ever hear. No commands are ever negative. Most importantly, their name is never negative. You know, I don't do that. It's you have one negative. We call it marker training, by the way. So if a dog's like far away and you want to give them a reward for a behavior they just did, but you're 100 yards away, you need a marker word. Good boy. Now I walk 100 yards and hand my dog a treat. And he goes, that was for sitting because that's when I heard my marker word.
We would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. Cafe Bastille originated in Miami, now has a location in downtown Fort Lauderdale for almost 2 years. Located steps from Las Solas and sitting on the canal, I can personally say I frequent there often. Their lattes are wonderful, hot or cold. The velvet pancakes just melt in your mouth. The pommes frites are on point, and the bottomless mimosas for brunch all day long are absolutely fabulous. For more information, please go to cafebastilledowntown.com.
I also have a negative marker. So if my dog were to, let's say, jump on a kid and I'm 100 yards away, right as his paws touch, hey, and then I'll walk over and I'll kind of grab the back of his neck. Feels like nothing, but it's his mother, growl and a snap. And he goes, okay, I have my positive. It means whatever decision I just made is going to get rewarded. I have my negative. It means whatever decision I just made is going to get corrected. And if I have a choice between a reward or a correction, I'm choosing reward every time. Now, just like children, if a dog has a choice between being ignored and being corrected, they'll choose being corrected every time because attention is better than being ignored. You know what I'm saying? Negative
Yeah.
attention to a dog.
They love any attention.
That's
That's
it.
interesting what you said about the kids, though, because Oliver doesn't bark at kids. He does not jump. He's curious. So when he sees a kid, I have a neighbor who has a daughter who's 5,
Mm-hmm.
and we try every day. And I'm very calm. I always see that they're out walking the dog, and she hi. And I said, go ahead, sweetie, you can try. She comes up, she puts her hand like it, and he's like, kind of like, he doesn't understand it yet. He's like, whoa, what's this little person doing here? And I don't make him feel scared or nervous or happy or anything. I just watch what he does. And he's not ready. He just kind of looks at them like, are these midgets or Smurfs or what?
Yes. A lot of dogs either overly love children or can be overly afraid of them or see them as prey, right? Animals are animals. So if I ever see a dog that's reactive to a child, I don't get upset or angry. I just know it's something I would have to fix,
Right.
right? So how can you fix stuff like that is you be completely not worrying about anyone's actions, meaning if you came up and screamed in my dog's face and then ran away as fast as you could, my dog would look at me and go, "What's wrong with her?" Right? Completely non reactive. And I could only teach that if I had perfect commands under highly stressful situations. So, like, I take my dog to career days at schools and I do demonstrations for the kids to say, there's teachers, there's police officers, there's engineers, there's math teachers. And here's another option that I chose, and the kids love it, right? But I'm there for 5 hours. My dog has to be perfect, right? Regardless of tired, hot. And the last time, this was like the proudest moment in my dog life, not, my kids are a different thing, but in my dog training life, there was a sheriff's helicopter about 30 yards away from us, landing, taking off. The police horses are doing demonstrations, running as fast as they can. And my dog barely glances at either one. He's got a
Wow.
bunch of kids screaming and grabbing him, maybe 50 at one time. And I know he doesn't like that, but I trust him 100% to deal with it. He was looking at me like, "Look, Dad, I know you like this." How did I get my dog to be that non-reactive? Is I know no matter what's happening, if I say sit, he'll do it. If I say come, he'll do it with a smile. If I say down, he'll drop. I think I sent you a video at that place.
You did.
He'll ride a skateboard, a
It was
scooter, a surfboard. That's the
anything.
trust. It goes back to the trust. So here's my dog's view on life. If I do what dad taught me to do, nothing bad could ever happen to me. So if I put him on a stay and the sky fell down, I mean, everything fell apart. In his mind, he's like, as long as I stay here, I know nothing could touch me. Now, let's be honest. If you're making that promise to your dog, you have to keep it. And people break that promise. And how do they do that? Well, I take you out and I'm on a leash and I let you meet the neighbor's dog who's also on a leash. You're not always 100% comfortable with it and you have nowhere to go. And now the neighbor's dog tries to bite you or jumps on you or does something unpleasant. I've now broken my promise to keep you safe. And think about how many times that happens, right? So that's what I'm saying to my dog is as long as you follow along with the rules, structure, commands, games that I teach you are good, you don't need to worry about your instincts anymore because they're wrong for the world that we find ourselves in. Your instincts would have you chase that squirrel right across the street with a car coming. I know that. So don't listen to your instincts anymore. Listen to me, which is why my dog could be running as fast as he could towards a road. And if I said, "Frankie, come," calmly, he'd turn and come, problem averted. But, that's kind of the whole idea is at least on a leash, if you're out in public, if you say something to your dog and he does it without thinking about it, now you get his mind off of distractions, fears,
Right.
anxieties, and right on you where it belongs. And your dog will love every second of that.
Right.
And that's really the whole idea of what I teach people is let's do earned attention. Let's do earned fun. Let's do earned treats and not give it away for free all the time. So it's meaningful. And then
Right.
once you have a dog very well trained, like mine, you can spoil them rotten. But it's a privilege that I feel I've earned through all my hard work. You're never going to get a dog to be as trustworthy as I feel like mine is without the structure that I talked about earlier.
After listening to all this, Oliver needs so much work. I thought I'm like, there might just be like one or two things Jeff needs to do. No, he controls the treats. Dad, he tells me where to go. I have to follow everything he wants to do. He pulls the leash when he wants to go in the other direction. If he sees one of his dog's friends coming, he's ready to play. He runs everything. What is going on here? I
That
am
I
totally
can
in
tell
the
you what's going on there, Chloe.
Yep. That is the case most of the time, right? Like if I watch 100 people and their dogs, that's what I see 98 out of 100
But he's
times.
such a good boy, though. He's not a bad boy.
Jeff,
No, I met him. He
let
was
me
a beautiful boy.
let
But I
me
would
ask
like
you
to
a
touch on,
question.
I'm sorry, Dagmar.
Let me ask you a question
Yes.
and correct me if I misunderstood it. It sounds like that dogs want and enjoy structure. And by them having the structure which you give them, they have a more balanced and fulfilled life, which totally makes sense to me coming from my cultural perspective, right? I had a medical treatment this week. And I came into the room, like 3 nurses are talking. I could not catch anything what I should do. And I told them, just give me instructions. I follow instructions. Everything else makes me nervous and overwhelmed. And that really makes me frustrated. And so now listening to you, I assume that's what a dog feels if it doesn't have a clear structure.
Very well said. Very well said. I believe that all anxiety, that whether you're a dog or a human being, is coming from a place of, I don't know exactly what I should be doing with myself in this moment, right? That's kind of how my head almost defines the term. Now, if I can give that direction, I would never claim to be an expert on how to help people with their issues. And we all know how many people are out there with issues. Maybe you go to therapy, maybe they give you some drugs. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I do tell you that when it comes to a dog, you're saying I'm the pack leader. I kind of make the decisions here, and we don't really do fear and we don't really do anxiety. So I just want you to picture something in your head. Imagine you have a dog who's fearful, like they hear thunder and now they're scared. They're shaken. The love of your life is sitting there looking terrified. Your instinct is to soothe them, right? That's the first instinct. It's okay, buddy. Don't be afraid of that storm. Mom's here, dad's here, which, and
We're having thunder right now. That's why he just jumped on my lap.
so imagine you're a dog who's fearful, and every time you act that way, you get the most positive response from your boss possible. Tons of attention, a soothing tone of voice, and physical love, right?
Yeah.
Now imagine the other dog who's going through training and they get scared of thunder, and you say, come, and they come, go to your place, stay, and they stay. And now you're good boy. I'm so proud of you. But it's not because you were afraid of thunder. We don't do fear here. What we do are tasks, and you're going to love the rewards you get for the tasks. And when I get to the point where that dog is like, I don't care that there's thunder, I'm still going to do what Jeff asked me to do. I literally never, at that point, they're like, I don't feel anxious. I'm not afraid. Whatever the trigger was, there's lots of triggers. Some people are afraid of joggers. Sorry, some dogs are afraid of joggers. Some dogs are afraid
some
of,
humans are afraid of joggers too. It depends on how they look, Jeff.
right? So they could be afraid of UPS people. They could be afraid of the sound of a hammer on the roof.
Right.
Now, what I'm saying to my dog is, I'm never going to give you attention just for being afraid, right? If my dog is afraid, I will ignore him, and then I will distract him, me with commands. But let's say your dog's not trained, find some other way to distract them. And as soon as they get their mind off that and on you, yes, here's a treat. I'm so proud of you. You're the best. And they're like, well, let me put it to you this way. If you followed me around for one day and every time I liked your behavior, I handed you a straight up $100 bill, how quick would you figure out those behaviors? Right? So you're just walking around and I see you touch your hand to your head and I go, yeah. And then I walk over and handed you $100 bill. And then you do something else. You put something down on the counter in a way I like. And I go, yes. And I run over and I hand you another $100 bill. You're going to start putting your hand to your head.
Hang out all day and get $100 bills because I'm a very good student.
Yes.
I'm a quick learner. I'm coming over. I want all the hundreds.
Well, my dog likes hundreds as well. And so do my clients' dogs. And it's not always food. I'm not a giant food trainer. The currency I like to use is attention. But imagine a dog who's annoyingly barking when I'm trying to get some work done.
Right.
Bark, 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 bark. I don't say a word. I don't look at them. I just keep working. Now, as soon as there's even the tiniest lull, they bark, bark, stop. Yes. And I walk over and I give them a treat and I rub their belly and I play with them for 5 minutes. And then I go sit back down, pretend like I'm working again, when all I'm really doing is training the dog to not bark annoyingly while I work. And they're barking now instead of 5 minutes, it's 1 minute. And as soon as they stop, yes. And then 5 repetitions in, I'm working and the dog's looking at me and going, look how good I'm being, Jeff. Where's my $100 bill? Whereas anybody else, and I promise you this is true, and I have the same nature, so I'm not on a high horse, but the dog's barking, you're trying to work, stop, whatever it is, it's okay, don't bark. And the dog's like, this is just like pressing a button, right? All I have to do is bark. And negative attention, I don't care. I'm getting your mind off the computer and onto me. That's all I wanted. So there's very specific ways. I want to touch on what you deal with. The only thing you mentioned to me, because Oliver is the most cute little dog I've seen in a long time. He looked like he was enjoying every moment, no fear, but the separation anxiety, right? That's the only problem you mentioned to me where I'm like, God, I'd love to help Chloe not have to, not to mention help him not feel that, which I don't think is a great
No,
feeling.
it's really a thing. It's
Right.
like it
So,
gives me anxiety for him.
right. So again, putting myself on the other end of the leash. And then I'm thinking to myself, how do I help this person solve their dog separation anxiety? You know how like someone will try to go to the bathroom and the dog has to follow them, and then they go from one room to the other and the dog has to follow them.
He does that wherever I go.
That's why I'm saying, yeah. So, but what do people do is now you're in the bathroom.
Come on, stop me.
Yep. Now you're talking to them, you're petting them, you're literally rewarding that anxiety, positive reinforcement. And it's no fault, it's no criticism. I'm not judging, but you have to understand I've spent my whole life learning how to not have a dog feel separation anxiety. So imagine you could go to the bathroom and you're like, I've been working with Jeff at Palm Beach Dog Academy. Place, which is like an elevated dog bed. Stay. And now you go, maybe you're not even really going to the bathroom. You're practicing because that's what I'd be asking you to do. And you go in the bathroom and he stays on his place and you come back, release him and play with him for 10 minutes. And the next time you go to the bathroom, maybe he doesn't feel the need to follow you. And he feels instantly so much better, right?
Ugh,
It just happens so quickly. But if you don't
please,
have the
from
language,
your mouth to God's ears, please.
that's funny. The title of the book I want to write is going to be From Your Mouth to Dog's Ears.
I love it. Don't tell people, Jeff. I don't want anyone to steal your idea. He already has it copyrighted. I want this whole audience to know that.
Well, good
All
luck
right.
writing the book without my help.
Yeah. Dagmar has a question, don't you, Daggy? I can feel it. I'm like in your head.
Yeah, I was wondering. So what you're doing is really rewiring the animal's mind, but also the human's mind, right?
It's even after I do like the training, if you send your dog to me, which is a program that I offer, no matter how well I do with the training, it is much more about what I teach the clients when they get their dogs back than anything else. So my dog's name is Frankie. If I say Frankie, come, and then I hand them to someone else who says, come, Frankie, we've got a big problem because those are two totally different languages. So that's what I do is I teach humans 80% and I teach dogs 20%. It's much more about teaching the people.
That's a huge point. That's a Did you hear that, Dagmar?
I'm just making up numbers, so don't test them.
No, but it is. No, we're not. Dagmar is very analytical, so don't do percentages. They're just going to hold you to
That's
that.
what I realized after I said it.
Yeah, but I'm not. No, but what you're saying is there's a much higher percentage of training the human than the dog because dogs can't train themselves. It has to come from the human. So that
100%.
makes so much sense. I want to know, this is not your favorite. Hold on, listeners and viewers, because they're going, oh my God, he's picking a favorite breed. That's not what I'm about to ask you. If someone is getting a dog for the first time and they have young children, or maybe it's like an older couple, what would you say are the top 3 easiest breeds for young families or like an older couple?
That's
That's
a
just
great
easy
question.
breezy.
That's a
Yeah.
very great question. So, little dogs, King Charles Cavalier Spaniels,
All right.
right? Never
Yeah,
seen a
maybe.
mean one, never
That's
seen
true.
one. They're just
Yeah.
they're good starter dogs. They were bred to just be companion dogs and just receive love. They don't need a ton of they need exercise. I don't want anyone to misinterpret, but they don't need a ton of training and mental stimulation and a job to do the way a lot of working breeds or sporting breeds do. So that's a great one for people who don't want to be super active and have a dog that needs tons and tons of training like my Boston Terrier does. You like medium-sized dogs, Labrador retrievers every day of the week, right? Again, they just almost come just like fitting right into people's lifestyles. Now, sometimes they do some pulling and jumping, but those are easy fixes. They're always friendly. So wonderful dogs. And I'm not afraid to answer your question. I don't know about top 3 for what people should get, but my favorite breed is Rottweilers. Always has been. Uh,
Know that from when we were kids. Can you believe his favorite breed is one of the dogs that most people are afraid of? But the reason why he also loves that breed is because they're very difficult, aggressive, and hard to train. And you love a challenge.
I do
And
love a
you,
challenge, but I
But they're
wouldn't
loyal, right?
necessarily say
Are they
that
not very loyal?
Rottweilers are even an aggressive breed. They are a guardian breed. So if you don't know what you're doing, they can be.
they're on the no breed list for my building and all
Well,
the condos.
think about this for a second. People would say the most aggressive dogs are pit bulls, right? But a couple
Or
of
a
years ago,
Doberman.
yeah, or something like that. But there's a lot more, Dalmatians that bite people than pit bulls, but they don't kill. They don't maul. You're not going to read about it in the newspaper. So, as far as
What
towards
breeds
people,
turn? What breeds are known from turning on their owners?
that's if that is happening at all.
Let me
I've
stop
heard that
this
about Dobermans.
discussion.
If
I
you want to know
think
the thing with Dobermans is they were overbred to a ridiculous degree, and they did become very aggressive.
Yep.
Then it went
Yep.
back the other way, where everyone I met was scared to death. They weren't guardians anymore. They bred that out of them, and then I saw scared Dobermans. But I don't believe that the breed has anything to do with how your dog should interact with the world. I call it being an ambassador for the breed. If you had met my Rottweiler Buju,
What do
like
you mean
wherever
if
I
I
went,
did? I know, but you have for what are you talking about?
yeah, you're right. I still had him in New York. I forget how
Yes.
long ago. And Buju was, in my mind, to this day, the most incredible dog I've ever known. Wherever I went, people would say, I am afraid of Rottweilers, but the look on your dog's face, his calmness, his way of interacting with you makes me feel very comfortable. And people started to relax and say, okay, maybe it's not the breed so much. It's any dog can have an irresponsible owner. If you are going to get a guardian breed and you think you can do it on your own without the help of a professional trainer, a lot of times that's a big mistake. I don't believe you should have a Doberman that doesn't do very good obedience. I don't believe you should have a pit bull or a Rottweiler that doesn't do very good obedience. And for safety, no dog shouldn't, right? But if you talk about a Yorkie or, a Doodle or a Havanese, no one's really worried too much about it. But when you have these big, strong, tough dogs, obedience becomes the only thing that's going to keep you out of those scenarios. But
Right.
I really don't believe that there are breeds that are more aggressive, except we all know that pit bulls can have a tendency towards animal aggression, right?
So
Bred
you're
for it.
saying there's a misconception on certain breeds because if you were to think about it, and we polled 100 people right now and said, what breeds are you scared to get or do you not want to ever have as a pet owner because you're fearful or you know someone that was bit by one or a story that you heard growing up? We all know they're going to say pit bulls, Rottweilers, and Dobermans. I mean, that's what they're going to say. So it's nice that you're clearing that up and the misconception. But
I
Daggy,
really
what were you
think,
going to say?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, Dag was saying something.
I just think that's why I said, let's stop the discussion and first talk about totally different perspectives, right? Because Jeff is in the industry and is working with them. And you looking out from an outside perspective of what you heard and what you perhaps
No,
experienced.
it's things that I've seen personally in my life with certain
Okay,
dogs. That's why
and
I'm
then
asking him.
Okay, and then your question is, how many times did you see it? Once, twice, 3 times? What I realize in the world, and that I have that because I love animals, wildlife and everything, I come across that all the time. The wild boars are there like this. The raccoons, they are like this. And it's the wolves, right? From the fairy tales,
Yes.
the Brother Grimm. Oh, that's
Yep.
the big bad
Wolves are
wolf.
scary. Yeah.
They will, and I think humanity a lot of times adapt to something, especially if it's the scarcity driven, the stories we read, and then hearing it from an expert, you're still questioning it because we are so getting so much input, especially with media, the internet and everything. I think it's becomes harder and harder to really have an educated vision about how something really is.
I
Right.
agree with
That's
you
why we're
there.
having this discussion.
I would ask you
I
this.
yeah. Because
Does it make
I'm
sense?
talking from personal experience. I had growing up very bad experiences with specific Dobermans. And then I had a chow. Jeff, do you remember this?
I do.
Yep. My neighbor had a chow
Chows are a problem.
that mauled my cat. This is why never had a cat after this. I had PTSD. And I don't want to talk about on here what happened, but it was
We
traumatizing.
can
And
imagine.
I personally will never go near that breed because of what happened. I also had a neighbor that had several Dobermans, and I saw the mailman get attacked by one day.
Sure.
So when I'm talking about it, this is from my personal experiences, what I've seen, and then certain breeds of dogs are looking aggressively at Oliver, where he goes like this next to me. That's all he does. He
Yeah.
still sits right by me because he's a mama boy, which works in
Right.
my favor. So I'm only going by what I've seen personally, or
Well,
someone I know
does
that
it
was
make
attacked.
sense that if someone has a preconceived notion that a Doberman or a Rottweiler or a Pit Bull is a scary, aggressive dog, and they act the slightest bit like fearful, they're now prey.
Right.
So it becomes more likely for those type of reactions from dogs that people are afraid of course. That's just
100%.
the way it
100%.
works.
You're right.
But again, if a dog is being aggressive, whether it's a Doberman or a Rottweiler or a Schnauzer or a Jack Russell Terrier, that is an irresponsibility on the owner's part. They are all fixable, right? So remember when we were in Pura Vida, I told you the story about my Alaskan Malamute, which, if you don't mind, I'd love to touch on for a minute
Yes,
because
absolutely.
this is the most aggressive dog I've trained in 30 years, right? And he lives with me and my family now very comfortably. Wonderful dog. But he was on death row in a shelter for having bit several people. And these weren't little bites. People were getting staples. And it was a very dangerous dog. He weighs about 130 pounds.
That's what I would like to weigh in my next lifetime. 130 for me.
And so I had to train this dog wearing a full police bite suit up to my neck for over a month while I told Chloe he was trying to murder me, right? There's no question in my mind.
And Jeff kept going back. Isn't that incredible, Dagmar?
And so that was about a month to get him to stop trying to do that to me. Then I spent about a year teaching him not to do it to everybody else, to get him to not be reactive in public, to all the way up to the point where now I could show you a bunch of pictures on him and my daughter who was 7 at the time. They're the bestest of friends and I trust them 100%. Which, by the way, the best dog trainer I've ever known, who I used to work for, told me was impossible. He's like, you'll never be able to have this dog around people ever. And when I finished, he said, Jeff, I would have never been able to do that. Wouldn't have had the patience. He's like, I would have had to kill that dog. And I was very, very proud of what we accomplished.
You have the patience. You are, I know this because I know you
I love
personally, you
these
are a
animals.
very patient person. And I think because he challenged you and he was like your mentor, it's like a coach telling the athlete, I'm gonna put you in game 4, but you're not gonna score. You're not gonna win you're like, excuse me, hold on.
That's right. I accept your challenge. Exactly right.
That's the New Yorker in you. Don't forget that.
Huntington, even especially, right?
Jeff, I have
Yeah.
a question about that. What made the dog being so aggressive? Was it bad experience from the
Oh,
past, or was it bad wiring in the mind?
this is such a good question because a lot of times that level of aggression is from straight up abuse. Like that happens a bit. A dog's like, I'm not going to take it anymore. You want to know what caused his aggression? The exact opposite. Too much enabling. So they let him do anything he wanted. He was getting in the garbage. He was stealing all their food. They would go to take the food back and he'd show them a little teeth and they'd be like, just keep it, right? Over and over,
What?
repetition and repetition. And a dog, he's one of the smartest dogs I've ever known. They're very, wolf like. And in his mind, he's like, clearly, I call the shots here. I make the decisions. And when it came down to the first time he bit, it was a little girl that was running away, just screaming, playing with friends. And he tracked her down and bit her. And she was 9 years old.
Wow.
Um, and they hired a trainer and went through treat training, all positive reinforcement, a trainer that doesn't believe in what we call balanced training or reward and punishment based training. It was all positive. And you're not going to solve a problem like that by doing tricks.
Right.
It just doesn't work that way. But the reason he became so aggressive was because every time he showed aggression, he got exactly what he wanted. Another example would be
Like a
they're
human,
walking him.
like a human, Jeff.
That's right.
Child.
Jeff had to come in, Dagmar. The Punisher came in and took over.
That's right. And every time he would see a dog and he would, "Arr!" They immediately removed him and the dog went the other way. And he's like, that worked, right? In his mind, the aggression was getting him the results that he was seeking.
It's
And
like
what I had to
enabling
teach
the
him,
dog. You're an enabler in a negative way.
and people do it not because they're trying to. They're not trying to reward the wrong behaviors. They're not trying to send mixed messages. But I'm just going to tell you guys, I believe this with all my heart. By nature, none of us are good at verbally communicating with animals. Anyone who thinks they are has not been through the experiences that I
I
have.
wake up in the morning, Jeff. I'm like, Oliver, it's a little rainy today. We're gonna go out soon, but I have to get the umbrella. And then he looks at me like this, and I'm like, God, well, he's half poodle. He's like the smartest breed, so he
Yeah,
must.
Chloe, that's the good kind of talking. You want to hear the bad kind of talking? I said stop. You cut that out. Go to your bed right now. That's the bad kind of
Right.
talking because the
Every
dog's
time he
like,
hears his name, he gets
clearly
all
you're
excited.
communicating with me, but I can't understand any of your
Right.
language. The analogy
That's
that I use is when I watch normal human beings try to communicate with their dogs, not like you're saying, let's have a great day. That's totally reasonable. But when they actually try to communicate, like do this behavior or don't do this behavior, it's like I'm watching someone who speaks one language talk to someone who
right.
understands a completely different language. And then they turn to look at me and they go, you see how stubborn they are? And I'm like, no, I see miscommunication, right?
We would like to take this moment and break in the episode to thank our sponsors. Robin Lord Law is New Jersey's premier criminal defense attorney for over 2 decades. Robin believes in justice for all and an aggressive legal approach in the courtroom, defending her clients with facts and passion. With an extremely high success rate, Robin has caught a lot of attention in the media with her bold approach in the courtroom and fabulous style. For more information, please contact Robin directly at robinlordlaw.com.
Right.
So it's all about the harmony of I practice every day. I clearly provide Dagmar what you said earlier. The structure makes them feel safe. They thrive in that type of structure. They all want tasks to perform. I always say, imagine I tried to raise my daughter by saying, you can sit on the couch, you can go in the backyard, but that's about all we're doing. Maybe a quick walk around the neighborhood. But I'm never sending you to school. You're not getting an education and you're not going to be out in the world in social situations. How well is that kid going to develop? Well, to
Right.
me, dogs and children are the two most important commodities on the planet, right? To me, there's nothing more important than children and dogs. And so if I'm walking my daughter through a very busy parking lot here in South Florida,
Wait,
we
what?
all
You have
know.
your daughter on the leash? You're walking your daughter. I was kidding.
Listen, where do I want her to walk? In these very busy spots with cars pulling in. I want her right next to me. I want her holding my hand. I want her
Right. You
paying
want to see
attention.
how she reacts to those types. Right.
I don't want her to get run over. And when I walk through a busy parking lot with my dog, I want him in the exact same spot. All I'm telling you is very few people, without dragging their dog and holding them back, can accomplish that. And to me, the ability to, like, let's say I stopped you on the street and I'm petting Oliver and I'm going, he's so cute. And then you decide you want to walk back to your apartment building and now you have to drag your dog away from me. What I'm saying is there's a way better way to do it. And everyone loves the results of it. So let's not use your dog. Let's use any dog. They would love hearing a command and going, hey, boss, you want me to walk next to you? I love walking next to you. But the language is perfectly clear. You practice it every day. And just that one thing, just dogs learning to walk on a loose leash. Now you're on a harness, so good for you. But imagine the dogs I see on collars,
I
right?
know, but that's still dangerous for them, isn't it?
If a dog yes, this is horrific. It's horrific. So no
Told
dog
my
should have
neighbor
a
the other day, get that collar off your golden doodle and get him on. You're pulling that thing so hard. I'm watching it and I'm like, get a harness to start.
I don't like it on a harness, but I hate it on a collar because it's bad for the trachea. It's bad for their
Wait, you're
brain.
saying the harness is not good?
No, the harness is way better than a collar. I'm saying I
Yeah,
don't like any dog having to be dragged when they could be taught to do it with a happy smile on their face.
right.
Like if you ever watch me with any of the dogs I'm working with, you're going to go, his leash never goes tight. It's always loose. He just asks for it. And the dog gives him a little salute and does it with a smile. What I'm telling you is, although it's very rare, that's going to be the happiest, safest, and most confident dog you will ever see. So if I can walk a dog through the most crowded area, the leash is loose, we're threading our way between the crowds, you know, and my
The
dog's just
Red
following.
Sea's parted. You're just walking through like easy breezy.
I believe that that is the ultimate indicator of a great relationship between a
Right.
human and a dog.
It's
That
amazing.
one thing
Yeah.
is if your dog will just walk where you ask and pay attention and never have to have pressure on them, then you're going to love taking them places. Their life gets filled with freedom and they look over at you and you always look happy and confident and you never look stressed out or you're worried about what might happen over here or what. And that's the energy that I want. So imagine you see me with my dog. We walk up on a loose leash. He's not pulling or barking. I say sit, he sits. Wouldn't you feel comfortable letting your niece or nephew walk up and pet that
Course.
dog?
This is like a dream world. I thought I had Oliver all under control. Dagmar, I have to go move to Jeff's house with him and his wife and
No,
his
no,
two
no,
daughters and his
no.
mother-in-law.
Oliver will move with Jeff. You cannot. He has to be trained first.
That's true. That's
He
true.
would not handle it when Jeff talks with him how he would need to.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
you're right. You're right.
You know, a board and train is a good program, but you want to hear a better program is you don't do a board and train. You do what's called lessons, and you become your own dog trainer through my instruction. And if you,
Yeah.
that's what I, now, now that requires me driving to your house, Chloe, teaching you how to do it and asking you to actually do it. And it's much more lucrative for me when I do board and trains.
Look,
But if
look,
you
look
ask
how,
me what
look,
I'm
look,
best
look
at,
at my face.
I know what I am best at, my absolute expertise, what I might have over, if I was going to say what I might have over some other, highly educated dog trainers is my ability to teach it to people, right? Some people are so good at
Well, but you
training dogs.
understand people. You've mastered the art of people also. I think a lot
Sure.
of the trainers have not done that, and you're really great at that. But I think that what we want to do is, because Dagmar and I are very organized and strategic in this sense, is that we want to have you on again because we want to give people some crumbs. And there's so much because Dagmar and I already did, and you listened to it about being a midlife pet parent. I'm not
Love that.
midlife. She's midlife. I'm not midlife. I didn't even have her change that title. I did want the title change. I said, Chloe, let's just leave this one alone.
It was a great episode.
And because we had so much traction, especially in the shorts on that, and people are obsessed with their pets, I think it would be great for us to have you on again a second time to really discuss more of the psychology of the human aspect versus the dog, because that, would take up another episode in itself. So I think
Yes.
it's important we just leave these, you left a lot of big crumbs. I don't want you to give up too much because people need to find out more about you and go to your website. And I want you tell people the best way to get in touch with you. Let's start there.
Sure. Yeah, my website's great. It's palmbeachdogacademy.com. You can see a lot of the information, and I would suggest calling me or texting me. So what's been happening on this website recently is the email submissions aren't coming through. So I'm going to get that fixed. But in the meantime, text me, call me. I offer free evaluations, chance to meet and go over the programs. So website is palmbeachdogacademy.com. Phone number is 561-62777. And I have Palm Beach Dog Academy at Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, ladies, I know Jeff's good looking, but he is married. So don't take the phone number to call him. This is strictly for dog training, okay? All right.
Yes.
I just want to make that clear. And
Thank you,
Dagmar,
Chloe. I'm sure it was going to be a real big issue.
Yeah.
What's this one message for
This
dog
is just my
owners?
comedy. This is my humor, Jeff.
One message for dog owners is no matter how wonderful your dog is, and they're wonderful, I know they're amazing, you can always make their life a little bit better through dog training. Now, whether that's obedience, whether that's scent work, having them look for things and finding them with their nose, whether it's just puzzle games, mental stimulation is the aspect people don't understand. They all know exercise, but I can take a dog for 2 hours of exercise or train them for 20 minutes and get kind of similar results because the mental stimulation makes them very calm.
You are so 100% right on that, because when I stimulate him at night or he has a play date, he sleeps better than just going on a walk and sniffing, especially the smarter breeds, because, the poodles are on the top.
Yes.
He needs a lot of stimulation.
I so agree with that. So that would be my message is pick something small. Like here's a great example is I call it the name game, right? So you say your dog's name one time. This is very important. One time, not 3, not 5, one time. And if they stop what they're doing and give you that good eye contact, good boy, or yes, and you walk over and you give them, sometimes it's a treat, sometimes pet, sometimes it's a toy.
Sometimes it's $100 bill.
And then a week later, if you do it, only say it once, right? $100 bill. You only say it once. A week later, they'll be looking out the window at something that they're distracted by. And you'll say Oliver and he'll go, yes, mom, because you put in that time and effort.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Right. But
That would
just,
be incredible.
yeah, when I watch people, I love their interactions with their dogs, but in my head, I'm like, they don't use their dog's name properly, right? They say it for everything. Frankie sit, Frankie down, Frankie come, Frankie stay, Frankie this, Frankie that. And I would say that would be like you going, Jeff, how are you? Jeff, how's your wife? Jeff, what'd you have for dinner? Jeff, how's your kid? I'd be like, that's not how we use a name.
Right.
So I teach people, this is how we use the dog's name. This is how we reinforce it. And then people are just so happy to see the instant
Right.
results of, wow, I can get your attention off that thing and right onto me. So
Amazing.
even something simple like that, you put in that little bit of work and your dog will thank you for
There
it.
you go.
Happy
And
dog,
Dagmar, don't
happy
you love
dog
how
mom.
Jeff's answers? See, when you and I do ours alone and you ask me to close out, what's your message? See how long his was? That's
So
a
I
New
can
York,
shorten it, Chloe. I
but
can
that's a
shorten.
New York
He
thing.
said,
This is just how we roll.
better
But
life
we do
quality for your dog and for yourself. That's what he said.
exactly. But we
That
want
is
to
well
have
said.
another. We want to do another session. We want people to be like, as we would say, chomping at the bit. Ha ha ha. Get it? But Jeff, I want to just say that we're so happy you joined us today. There are millions of people that have these questions. They're on YouTube trying to look. Don't do any of that, people. Come right here. Listen to us. Jeff knows. I know this firsthand because I know him personally for many, many years. I know what he's capable of. And I know that he's highly, highly successful at what he does. We only have people on here that know what they are doing. Let's start with that. So, Jeff, we thank you. We see you. We hear you. We believe in everything that you're doing.
Thank you, Jeff.
And your
I
job
love
is
talking to you
incredible.
guys.
We need more people like you in this world, but especially right here in South Florida, Jeff's the guy to go to. You can find us on ProblemSolvHer.com, no E on solve, on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Thanks, Jeff. We
Thank
love
you
you. We'll
Thank
have
guys.
you on
Love
you.
again
you.
soon.
Please note that the views shared by our guests are their own. We invite honest stories and diverse perspectives, but they don't necessarily reflect our opinions or serve as professional advice.